awesome things called MDI forms. Anybody read about MDI forms? Anybody has the book and it's still in pristine condition, completely unfettered by reading or marking up? Yeah, you might, I'm not going to say sell it, but, I think you'll probably want it through the end of the term, and then there'll be a bunch of them on Amazon, so trying to be sold. Do you guys sell your books back on Amazon? Don't use, okay. Okay. Tip of the day.
Amazon or
the bookstore is a huge ripoff from what I could tell.
Yes.
Buying back books. Like literally, my wife would buy these $120, $150 textbooks. You've all done that, right? And then how much you get back? Like 20 bucks? 35, 45. Amazon, I found you usually get 80% of what you paid. So, you want to get some money, go do that.
We just need PDFs on our phone. Just pull out your book.
Sure, and just be like, all right. We're waiting for Visual Studio to configure for the first time. I'm not sure why. It seems like maybe it's forgotten about me.
They did a backup again.
So we have lab tomorrow then, right?
You have lab tomorrow.
Is it posted yet?
It's not posted yet.
Are we going to have a lab during dead week?
We will have a lab during dead week. Yeah, to give you opportunity, to get help if you need it with your lab.
Good.
I know. I have something Friday. Thinking about canceling. What do you guys think? Should we cancel Friday? Should we keep Friday?
Sounds good this Friday.
Yeah.
Is there material to cover?
We're kind of running low, actually. But we have next week. We have 3 classes.
Well, I wouldn't be against it.
I don't know. Let me look. I'll send you guys an email. So Friday's iffy, okay? I'll shoot you an email sometime tomorrow, or I'll tell you about it. But I'll shoot you an email, that way you know. So check your email like Thursday night.
How many labs do we have until final?
I think there's 2. There's this week and next week, and then we have the final, right?
Yeah.
Only one lab Friday.
All right, Sarah. Thank you. Put your name on it. Even better. Okay, so MDI forms. Anybody remember what an MDI form is? What does MDI stand for?
Little forms.
Yeah, it's the thing that holds a whole bunch of little forms. Let me go grab
Is
this.
it the whole modal, non-modal thing?
Oh, no, that's a good point. That M stands for multi, not modal. Let me grab this real quick.
If you were to say the whole acronym out loud, it would be
Multi-document interface.
excellent.
MDI, right? How much more intuitive can we be? Let's drop that over there. Okay, so there's an MDI form example up on Blackboard, but we're going to see if we can make it through it all the way. So basically what we need in order to do an MDI form is we need a container form. What we're going to do is we're going to take this regular form 1 and we're going to make it contain a couple of other forms. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the first thing we need is a couple of other forms. So we'll just come up here and we'll add a form, and let's give ourselves a form that does how about one that's a student detail form maybe? And then we'll add, how about sandwich order form? What a deal. I didn't say they were going to be related, although in theory they would be somewhat related. So let me bring the properties up here. So the way I start things out is I typically design my subforms. So what should we put on a student detail form?
Label and a text box.
There we go. A label and a text box. The label should say name. All this is pretty, I'm going to assume you're pretty well adept at creating this kind of stuff by now. Name, age, ID. Perfect. Great. So now we've got a little tiny student detail form, right? Now what would we put on a sandwich order form?
Sandwich.
Sure.
Cost.
So let's Control V. Let's just, there's a name and the costs. Oop, I didn't want to put that in there.
That's cool. You would want to-
Yeah, you can do them both at once. I didn't even know that. Maybe a checkbox for something like Mayo, right? Mayo. And then another one for
Cheese.
sure. All right, but they're obviously very distinctly different things, right? So the real magic comes when you start kind of hooking these up to talk to one another. Now in the past, when we wanted one form to show another form, does anybody remember, what did we do?
Show dialogue.
We did the show dialogue, right? And we always did show dialogue, and how is that different than just show?
They're locked into that one
And,
form,
and what do we call that?
modal.
Right, exactly, that's exactly right. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the parent form here, and we're gonna say that this is an MDI container. And the way we're gonna say it is we actually have a property, is MDI container, and we're gonna set it to true. Now, what is the difference here? Can you tell?
Color.
That's true, that's false. Any idea? Visually, what's the difference?
Is it true? It looks like something should be in it.
Right. We see that it looks like it's deep. So when it's false, it looks like a flat surface we could put stuff on. But when it's true, we have a border, and it looks as though it's a container for something else. Does that make sense? So that's the first visual style that by default gets applied when we set that to true. The other thing is now it's eligible to hold other things, and amazingly enough, it really is quite simple to go through this. But typically, MDI forms will have a common toolbar or menu on top. Because what we don't want is to have a whole bunch of little forms inside, each of them with our own menu. We kind of want a master menu that maybe even changes based on what's in focus. So, personally, the easiest kind of menu, where is that here? Where do we have our menu? A menu strip. Do you guys remember working with these? Did we do this last term?
Yeah.
Yeah, so menu strip. So let's just start by creating maybe a file menu. And then maybe we say new student, and then new sandwich. And what do you suppose those would do? If I click on new student, what would you expect to happen?
Put up
The
the.
new student form.
Right, we throw up a new student form. Now how many times could I click new student? And what would it do the second time?
Bring up forms.
Bring up another one. We can have as many in here as we want. So it just continues to add into the MDI interface. And then we'll put an exit on here. Actually, I really like this.
Are you gonna want to create like maybe a database or something in the parent forms, so every time you make a new student, it saves it into
I
that?
certainly would. Yes. What a great lab idea. That's fantastic.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And what I'm not going to talk about today is how these things would get saved or persisted. But you can imagine that you could have an object that saved it to any of the three kinds of files that we started the term with, or a database. We're going to really leave that as kind of a separate exercise. But that's exactly right. If we did anything useful, we need to save this data. So the other thing that oftentimes MDI forms have is they will have a kind of, usually a window menu is what we call it. And the window menu will usually have commands that will act on all of the sub-children in the MDI form. And if you did your reading, did anybody read and learn what one of the commands might be? Okay, one of them might be to